And welcome to Around the Ozarks Spotlight. Each week we uncover the stories behind the people who live and work in Southwest Missouri. Those individuals with entrepreneurial spirit who work to better the lives of others or put pen to paper to write books about the stories and history of the Ozarks and its people. I'm your host, Scott Meier, and today we're going to explore the world of title companies and escrow. And also, we're going to speak a little bit about and learn more about this year's big event, which is to stop the blues out of homelessness. With me is the president, CEO, owner, I don't know, chief cook and bottle washer, whatever else,
Yeah, I do
of
know.
of Choice Escrow and Land Title, Mr. Jim Payne. Hey, Jim.
Hey, thank you for having me, Scott.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. As we talked about prior to us doing the show, we're going to make today's show just a little different. I've had Jim on before talking about the Stomp the Blues concert that he has every year. But this year, we're going to learn a little bit about the escrow and land title business, too, because we really try to speak to as many small entrepreneurial businesses and homeowners as we can whenever we can. And what a great time to do that than now.
Yeah. Thank you.
Now, in your defense, why don't you tell the folks at home, what does a title company do exactly? We all
Well,
pay for it when we close on a house.
right. What you are hoping to get, and we hope we provide the best of the services, and an exact and accurate title search, meaning that we go back in the history of the ownership of that property and make sure that each person has correctly passed the title on to the next person.
Okay.
So we depend on recorded documents at the courthouse, and there have been cases where some of those aren't recorded correctly, or they get indexed incorrectly, and that's where the insurance comes in.
Mm-hmm.
So we provide title insurance for that search and that commitment, with the hope that there's not an issue in the future.
Now, we just went through something like that personally where not your company, but another local title company
Right.
may or may not have titled our property correctly when you look at the records at the city. And what's ended up being happening is there's a lot of finger pointing going on, but
Sure.
nobody seems to be stepping up and taking the responsibility. I can't be the first person that's ever had that happen to them. I mean, what do you do in a case like that?
Well, there are cases where someone's sitting at the closing table and they don't fully read the document, and maybe the name's misspelled, or maybe the address is misspelled. Those things are really common, and what we typically do is have them come back in and we re-sign the document and re-record it. And those are the simple things. But we have had where we've had to have people come in that were actually heirs or partial owners of the property that didn't turn up in the search, that we also have to go back. We'll get them to sign, and any subsequent buyers and sellers have to fall in line and sign as well, and that cleans up the problem.
Now, is this your company, Choice Escrow and Land Title? Is this your business? Was this a family business?
Yeah, well, my wife and I, she does most of the heavy lifting. I'm kind of kind of the operations guy, but yeah, she's been doing this for 30 some years.
What caused her to get into the business? I can't imagine somebody coming out of school going, "Boy, I think I'm going to open up a business to search titles and do
Well,
escrow."
in the late 80s, early 90s, she was a mom with two children, and she needed to figure out how to provide. And there was one other instance where a standalone closing company, is what they were called at the time,
Mm-hmm.
existed in Springfield, and she had relationships with some real estate company owners. So she parlayed that, relationship into what was originally Choice Escrow. And so that went on for years. In the middle of the 90s, the state said, no, you have to be a title company, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So she, at the time, merged with another title agent here in town. And then in 2008, we formed, once again, Choice Escrow and Land Title.
Okay. So you came into the business after you were married? Is that what happened
Yeah,
there?
via my wife. That's correct.
Okay. And where
And
where'd she find you, Jim? Where-
I was in the lending business, and I knew she was the right one when she wouldn't let me talk her into doing things that probably weren't right.
Yeah, go figure. That's well, at least you knew that heading into the deal, right?
Sure.
So are you originally from the Springfield area?
Originally from Alabama, went to school in Waynesville, and
Okay.
then ended up in Springfield through Missouri State.
So you were an Army brat?
No, my mom married the postmaster in Waynesville after she
Is-
divorced.
Really? So
Which is
where were you born in Alabama?
Demopolis, Alabama.
Near
And, it's that is the big city.
Demopolis?
Yeah,
Really?
the hospital no longer exists now, but it's on the central west side of the state.
The
Close to
central
Mississippi
west
line.
side. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you're almost Mississippi. So you kind
that's
of,
correct.
but
That's
I don't
correct.
hear it in your voice. I don't hear it there.
Well, as my wife says, when I get around my people, it comes back.
Is that right? So do you go to bed at night saying "Roll Tide" or what?
Always.
Oh, you're a big Alabama fan.
Well, we
Okay.
used to say the prayer to Bear Bryant, but now we say it to Nick Saban.
Oh, who broke my heart at Michigan State when he left. So what are you going to do? We all have our bodies to bear. So you went to high school here in Springfield
Waynesville.
and Waynesville. Okay,
Right.
and then on to college.
Yes, college.
It's
Well,
okay. It's
a
okay. Where'd
journey.
you go?
It was a journey, man. Mizzou, Alabama, Missouri State, Alabama, Missouri State, and I took my last class to get my degree from Alabama.
Is that right?
Yeah,
So
but my degree's from Missouri State.
Okay, because you figured they couldn't find you if you kept moving around. Is that?
Well, some of them didn't invite me back.
Oh, we were a wild one, were we, when we were younger?
Well, we were experimenting many times.
My guest today and around the Ozark Spotlight is Jim Payne. Jim, co-owner of Choice Escrow and Land Title. Is that fair? Is it
That's
still in
fair.
your wife's? Is it your wife's name or
Yeah.
you guys' name?
Yes.
All right.
Exactly.
Now, are you an S corp or an LLC?
LLC.
LLC. Okay. What is benefits? What did you see the benefits of that over an S corp?
Well, I mean, actually, it was easier, less. To me, it was less paperwork, less.
Mhm.
There are stricter guidelines when you're an S corp or C corp.
Okay.
And that's really the benefit.
Now, when she went into business for herself, so she was single with two children.
Correct.
That had to be a tough time.
Oh, I'm sure it was. That's one of the reasons why she and I are so passionate about helping other people.
Mhm.
And you have experienced the struggle. You know what the struggle is, and now it's your opportunity to help others.
Now, that business has been around, you said, since the 80s, the late 80s.
Yeah, 88 is when she started the original Choice Escrow.
What would you tell somebody today who maybe is hearing the show in a similar situation that certainly she was in, or I guess that you both were in when you first got together, about starting a small business? How difficult is that?
Well, it's extremely hard, but if you have some of the contacts and relationships that she already had,
Mm-hmm.
I think it helps you get over the hump. It certainly gives you confidence, but that's the hard part. You have to have a solid plan and solid commitment from others who are going to be part of that business.
It's got to be really tough.
Well,
at least you were able to come in after it had started, but still.
Right.
What at the dinner table? What do y'all talk about if it doesn't work?
Oh God, it's always work, or it's always Stomp, or it's always the kids. We don't vary very far.
Now your kids are grown at this point.
Well, yes, and all three work for us.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Is-
two
really?
daughters. Kara's the oldest, Abby, and then Nate's our son.
So
They
now
all
it
three-
has become a family business.
certainly.
How about
Full-time family.
grandchildren? Any grandchildren yet?
Yes, there's four.
Oh, you stumbled there for a minute. It must be a new one.
Well, and I thought you were going to ask me, do any of them work for us? And one does work for us.
Wait, you've got a grandchild old enough to work for you?
Yeah, she's 16 and she comes in and does filing, lien
Oh, that's
waivers,
great.
and things like that. Yeah.
Well, you and your wife have been blessed. I don't know that I've ever met her, but knowing you, she's obviously it was a marry up thing, right? Is that the
Well,
always right?
yeah. There's not a doubt on that.
Now, when people are in the process of buying a home, when do they make that decision, or who makes that decision on which land title company that they go with? And how
Well,
important is it, really?
well, it's very important because there you can be catastrophic mistakes made.
Hmm.
You know, if a title company takes a shortcut or depends on someone else's search that they haven't really looked at, you know, there can be serious consequences. You know, there's a multitude of problems that can occur if it's not done correctly.
Hmm.
But to answer your original question, it used to be that the listing agents typically would guide the title company location or who was chosen. Anymore, a lot of the buyer's agents are writing it in their contracts, and you know there can be some negotiation around that as well. But it's pretty wide open right now. Just any party can choose or at least try to contractually make the arrangements.
Hmm. Do you get involved at all in the lending side of the business in terms of
No,
putting people together, anything like that?
not necessarily. We obviously know a bunch, but you know it's hard to single out one lender over another because if it becomes public knowledge, then you're in
Hmm.
trouble. You
Oh, is
know,
that right?
you can't play favorites because you know just because I like 104.7 doesn't mean everybody does. You know.
That's nice. You threw that in there, Jim. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. How competitive a business is the title business?
Well, it's very competitive, you know, and typically it revolves around a couple different things. It's price and service and uh, contractors and builders.
Hmm.
So you have some targets of listing agents, buyers agents, whoever's active in the market, or you go after builders and developers, and you develop those relationships, and they are more likely to be able to guide the transactions
Hmm.
because there's so much more work involved in helping a builder get through his process.
Is are the payments that are made to title companies, is that a competitive thing, or is it pretty much a standard rate?
Well, the title insurance proper is all set at the state.
Oh, it
So
is.
so our rates for title insurance are the same as anyone else in town.
Okay, all right. And as far as title, are they underwriters? Are you title underwriters? Is that proper or no?
No, we're a title agent.
Just
We
title
use
agent.
right.
Okay.
We have two underwriters. Our main one is Old Republic National,
Uh huh.
and then we use Westcor.
Okay.
So they are the ones we lean on when we have real legal questions about how possible title was passed or needs to be passed, or who they will make the tough decisions on whether they will insure or not.
Are title companies limited by the county you're in or the city you work in?
Somewhat, because we have a title plant for Greene and Christian County, and a title plant is the uh, accumulation of data going back through history, and ours goes
Hmm.
back to the mid 40s. And so when we need someone, say in Taney County, we contact a agent there to help
Hmm.
us do the search, and then we do the commitment and the underwriting of that search.
With higher interest rates over the last year or two, is that going to affect your business at all as a title company?
Well, it's pretty funny, you know, when COVID first hit, interest rates were dropping and business was just crazy.
Hmm.
You know, builders were building, everybody was buying, selling, prices were increasing on properties being bought and sold. Then we had a problem with construction due to labor tariffs coming out of Canada and steel tariffs out of China. So that slowed down the construction side of it. And about that time, toward the end of 21, first part of 22, that's when everybody was starting to see some slowdown. And then, sure enough, in March of 21, in 20 or 22, sorry,
Hmm.
21. But I'm sorry,
They all come together. No,
yeah,
it's
no,
the
right, right.
pandemic has messed everything up. So,
Right, I know, but
yeah.
so then the interest rates started rising. So for about 3 months, 4 months, there was panic buying and selling,
Hmm.
and then toward the end of last year, 22, it really took a dramatic slowdown. I just read an article this morning that showed that the insurers, the title insurers that we use, they were down 38% in fourth quarter of 22.
Oh, well, we'll find out more, I'm sure, as the weeks and months go forward.
Right.
My guest today and Around the Ozarks Spotlight is Jim Payne. Jim is a co-owner of Choice Escrow and Land Title. We're going to come back from break, and we're going to talk about a passion, more so than just the passion of titling land for you with both Jim and his wife. You're listening to Around the Ozarks Spotlight on the Midwest Family Stations. We'll be back in a moment with more. I'm your host, Scott Meier.
Hey, everybody, it's Ethan and Sarah Forhetz from your favorite podcast, Around the Ozarks in 5. I'm sure you've been wondering, how can I get even more amazing stories, events, and witty banter to start my day?
Well, look no further. Here we are. Sign up for our daily newsletter. You'll have what's going on around the Ozarks right at your fingertips each weekday morning.
Yeah, just go to aroundtheozarks.com, click on the newsletter tab to sign up.
Thanks for listening to Around the Ozarks in 5. We hope to see you in your inbox soon.
Welcome back to the second half of today's Around the Ozarks Spotlight. Whistling in the back is Jim Payne. Jim is co-owner of Choice Escrow and Land Title. I can see now why he moved around to about 6 or 7 colleges to pick up that degree. We haven't even talked about what the degree was yet. But Jim's going to tell us all about Stomp the Blues for homeless, to stomp out homelessness, right?
Yeah, it's Stomp the Blues out of homelessness.
Out of homelessness. And it's something that you, and what is your wife's name?
Paige.
You and your wife Paige have been actively involved in now for many years.
Yeah, it's a kind of a crazy story. Some people would call us nut jobs when we started, but we started originally doing meals at a homeless shelter down on Commercial Street called Bill's Place.
Mm-hmm.
So when we started, the meals were 25 or 30 people, and then it grew to 55, 65. Then it got to 100 plus. And, we had to figure out a way to generate some income or money to help support those meals. And with the local DJ who is no longer here or has a show, he helped me devise this plan to put together a blues festival.
Mm-hmm.
And through that, we had our first festival in May of 2011. And which was a total disaster, lost $4,000 or $5,000, but it didn't deter us because we saw the potential.
Sure.
The next year we had really turned things around with the Cape Brothers and Corey Stevens, and that first year, the second year, we got our traction.
Mm-hmm.
And this year would have been our 13th year, but it's the 12th due to 1 year out for COVID.
Gotta love COVID. So over the years, what kind of funds have you been able to raise?
Well, right now we've got a real special project that the Drury Architecture School just finished up at the Revival 66 campground. It's what they're terming as a tiny cottage. It's an overnight sleeping shelter. Mm-hmm. The Revival 66 campground is out on West Chestnut, but it's a campground that provides small overnight shelters for homeless people. The Drury students did this 3 years ago, and I kept kind of looking at it and thinking about it. And as we accumulated a little bit of reserve, we wanted to participate in that. Mm-hmm. Tracy Suter, who is the design and build teacher instructor at Drury, she's been wonderful. The kids are great, and it's turned out to be a really nice project.
Why homeless for you? Why have you?
If you back to my college days, and I'm sorry to go back, but there were many times where I had to sell plasma to get a dozen eggs and a loaf of bread. Mm-hmm. And that was, in the back of your mind, you're always hustling. I didn't have somebody writing a check for me to go to college. I was paying for my college, getting, Pell Grants, but you see some of the struggle and you understand the struggle. And so you want to, when you have the ability, you should participate in helping others.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I agree. Now, have you been a part of Randy Bacon work at all on
No,
the
I know.
homeless?
I know Randy. He was a neighbor at one time, and he had a tremendous project, a million ones or something of that
Well,
nature.
1 billion, 7 billion ones,
Yeah,
and it's and it deals a lot with the individual stories
right,
of
right,
the local homeless.
right. And we have fed and clothed and helped most all of those people at some point.
Mhm.
And it's just hard. You see these people, and that they're not bad people, but once you get to the streets, it's really hard to get back off.
Well, and I think so many of the backstories have to do with situations where some of them were tossed out, whether they had bad parents or bad
Yeah,
bad
yeah,
influences in their
right,
life, and mental illness can be a big part of it.
right,
Certainly, drug abuse can be a big
right,
part of it.
right,
But it really seems like, as a community anyway, Springfield has done a heck of a job. I'm involved with CPO.
right.
We have One Door, where I don't know if you're familiar with
Sure.
One
Oh yeah,
Door, but
absolutely,
it's
absolutely.
one-stop shopping. If for somebody on the street,
Right,
if somebody can point them in that direction, it's so much better than rolling down your window
right,
and throwing them $3.
right, right, right.
Uh,
They do a great job, and as with almost any business, having availability to put someone in a place is the hard part.
Absolutely.
Uh, we have turned more from direct help with street homeless
Mhm.
into more of a preventative type of efforts when we go to places like uh, Laura's Home or the Dar House or Women in Need of the Ozarks
Mhm.
or the Rare Breed, because these are, except with the exception of the Women in Need, those are youth organizations that are strictly there to help keep people from ending up on the streets, or they
Yeah.
provide resources. The Dar House, as you know, is a foster group home, foster
Mhm.
group home for males. The female version is Laura's Home. And, those are 16, 17-year-old kids that have gone through the foster care system, and
Yeah.
they would still be there with the exception of having those places to go and take care
Yeah,
of.
it breaks your heart. It really does.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about the positive side then, if we can, of the work being done on the homeless
Yeah.
through Stomp the Blues out of homeless. So it's the blues, I take it, is something near and dear to you.
Yeah, well, I grew up listening to the Allman Brothers, Eric Clapton, Led Zeppelin, Wet
Mhm.
Willie, those bands. And as you grow, you realize that most of those Southern rock bands, or some of those bands, were all blues-based music that they created into their own. So
Absolutely.
that's how I kind of started. And so this year, because my wife is also the president of Women in Need of the Ozarks,
Mhm.
we devised a plan last fall to feature mostly women artists.
Okay.
And we're calling it the Year of the Woman, and then One Lucky Dude.
So who do we got coming? What's the show
We
going to look
have
like?
Dana Fuchs, who's our headliner. Danielle Nicole, who is from Kansas City, that was in a band with her two brothers called Tough for a long time.
Mhm.
Albert Cummings has been playing the blues and for years. He's from the Boston area. And Eliza Niels is our opening act this year. And it's really amazing because all four of these probably could or should be the headliner.
Yeah, sure.
But and it's an attempt to have people get there early and be there all day instead of coming to see one particular artist or so.
Where's the program? Where is it this year?
It's going to be at the Community Blood Center of the Ozarks.
Okay.
And we've been out there. We've been real fortunate. They've been a great partner. We've been out there about 4 years.
Mhm.
And it's Saturday, June the 10th. Gates open at 12:30. The first band starts at 1:30. We'll have all the food and beverages and snacks and things like that you can stand. But it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be all day music. 1:30, 3:30, 5:30, 7:30 are the band start times.
And have you got anything mixed in between there with some local acts?
Well, we don't this year.
Okay.
Good question.
But in past years we've had that. We've had an opportunity to do
Typically,
that.
we've always had one local band as our opening act.
Uh-huh.
And we've got great great musicians here in Springfield. And, next year we'll probably move back into that territory again.
Now you're suggesting June 10th will be a perfect weather day.
It's going to be great weather. It's going to be 78, bright skies.
Perfect day. Is there some sunshine opportunities to get away from the sunshine?
Well, we have the sponsors. Obviously, they have purchased tents.
Sure.
And then we have sold all of our what we call the VIP tents, which is put up for sale at the time tickets go on sale.
Sure.
We sold all 10 of those. But I suggest people bring a golf umbrella,
Mm-hmm.
a comfortable chair, obviously sunscreen. You can't bring dogs or pets unless they're service animals. No coolers, no alcoholic beverages. Although it seems like we find stuff after the fact every year. But.
Yeah, go figure. It is adults. I mean, you're going to have that, right?
Right.
And there's plenty of places to do your business. I'm
Right.
assuming as well.
Oh, sure. And we have wine, we have seltzers,
Mm-hmm.
we have beer, soda, water, ice cream by Highland Dairy. We have a lot of different things that we
You've
share.
got some good sponsors this year. I was looking through your sponsor list.
Yeah, we've got great sponsors. The payroll company has been on board since day one.
Mm-hmm.
They're our event sponsor, and this year we're recognizing the B. Payne Stewart Foundation. Laura Thomas has been a donor for a number of years, and I made her give me their logo this year. So
is that right?
They're getting recognition that's well deserved.
Good.
We have Neil and Newman, Mid America Safety, Grady Real Estate, and BAK Technology is our main stage sponsors.
So how do you find time to do both the escrow and title work and also putting on this event? Because these events take months to do.
It's really I'll start again about end of July, 1st of August, but I always have a list of ideas for bands.
Mm-hmm.
So you always kind of have a reserve or what you're thinking about. But as we've learned, the first couple of years, it was a steep learning curve because we'd never done this. We didn't have nobody that was on our board or helping us had ever done it.
Sure.
So you have to learn how do you do the sound? Where do you get the stage? Where do you do all these things? The tickets, the fence, and so as the years have progressed, the same people who have helped us then are still helping us now.
Mm-hmm.
So our processes are they might be the same, but they're not near as intense.
They're a little streamlined.
Right.
When folks want tickets, Jim, what do they need to do?
Stomp the blues out of homelessness.com. They're all online this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's real easy. Eventbrite is our ticket provider or the platform we use. So you go in, you buy them and show up. Or you can wait till the day of and walk up for $35.
Oh, is that right? So you'll have admission available at a walk up too.
Absolutely. Assuming we're not sold out.
Well, and we had past sellouts last few years?
We came really close 2 years ago when we had Samantha Fish, but no, we have not.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm not going to turn down $35.
This year, let's hope for a sellout. And again, it's at the Blood Center.
Yeah, Community Blood Center of the Ozarks at the corner of Plainview and Campbell. You can't miss us once you get in the area. You'll hear us, you'll see us, and we'll have guys that help you park and get you right in.
And that's June 10th. And what time?
June 10th, gates at 12:30, first band at 1:30.
Excellent. Jim, I want to thank you and hopefully wish you, again, the best of luck this year as every year, because you do some great work, and God bless you. You don't spend a lot of time crowing about it. You just do it every year.
Well, thank you so much, Scott. It's always a pleasure to be on, and we certainly appreciate the help you give us.
Well, and also thanks for helping out some folks that maybe think they want to get into business too, because that's any advice is good advice for someone who's done it himself a couple of times. It ain't easy, and it takes it takes a lot of focus, and it takes a lot of sleepless nights.
Yeah, you got to have help. You got to have a smart partner, which I was lucky enough to find.
I want to thank my guest again, Jim Payne. Jim is co-owner of Choice Escrow and Land Title here in Springfield, and also he and his wife are the directors of Stomp the Blues out of Homelessness, happening on June 10th at the Community Blood Center out there in the parking lot. Please attend and enjoy. I want to thank all of you today for having spent the time with us, and also my producers, Taylor Worley and Jay Stevens, as well as all of you for joining us. And if you happen to miss any or all a part of today's program, you can always find it in its entirety on the MidwestFamilySpringfield.com website, the AroundTheOzarks.com site, or our new app for ATO, which can be found in Apple apps or Android apps. You can hear and view today's show as well as earlier shows this year and last. My name's Scott Meier. Remember that every day is a gift, and enjoy life. Thanks for joining us. Jim, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Scott.